or anything. Have you ever experienced any type of injuries throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, I was blessed throughout my career, 13 years as a pro,
Yeah.
three in the NBA and 10 in about 7, 8 different countries. So I didn't sustain any major injuries till the end of my career. I actually slipped on the treadmill reaching for my cell phone
Yeah.
and kind of hyperextended my foot. And so I had some tears there that I had to overcome. I end up coming back for my final year in the NBL. And so that was, I overcame it, but I never had is my left foot, and that's my jumping foot because I was a one-legged jumper. So I had to deal with the pain and then deal with the rehab and deal with the psychological issues of not being able to play, freely or 100% like I had been accustomed to. I overcame it and I had a solid year. We were a very bad team. I was on a bad team, but we had a solid year. I had a solid year. And it was something I was never used to. The closest thing to that was before my first college game, 19, ooh, goodness, what year was I in college? 87. I had a really bad ankle sprain and I missed my first college game. And I came back the next game, I only about maybe 80% and had a whale of a game. Big game, we beat a big
Yeah.
team. So I've had a couple of occasions, and most recently, the latest one is I tore my meniscus in my left knee,
Oh, really?
and I done that playing golf. So I try to play as much golf as I can, and when you finish a particular sport, I guess all older guys and girls we kind of head over to golf, and tore my meniscus, my knee started to just blow up like a balloon, man.
Yeah.
And so because I didn't have any injuries like that in my playing days, I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
I was frustrated. I was angry. I didn't really know what to do. I went to see a few people or specialists. I was going to have what they call a keyhole surgery when they go in, also called a cleanup job.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was going to have that done, but I talked to one of my golf buddies who's a physio, and I decided to rehab it the old-fashioned way,
Yeah.
with bands and resistance bands and leg extensions and all that stuff. And it's come good now, but I almost gave up my golf membership because of it.
Oh, really?
All right, because I felt that
Yeah.
if I can't compete on the level that I was on as a golfer, then I didn't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
And I guess that's from being a former pro athlete, and you have that expectation of yourself. And so I almost gave it up totally, which I think my wife would have liked, but I would have been a bit miserable. But I didn't have to, and now I'm still playing. So, college once in the pros towards the end of my career here in Australia,
Yeah.
and just most recently um, with my golfing is when I sustained that injury and I had to deal with that, and that was the biggest challenge out of all of them.
Okay. Yeah. Um, just to let you know, I tore my ACL and my meniscus as well.
Oh,
Yeah, so both. So yeah, they did the keyhole
yep.
surgery. I had my surgery the 20th of June,
Okay.
2 days after my birthday.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that was fun. But yeah. Okay.
So where are you now with your rehab? How far along are you now?
4 and a bit months. It's gone quick, but it's a slow process.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
painful. It's not painful physically anymore. It's gone. It's just very frustrating. Not even being able to play social or anything.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a difference in how today's athletes talk about the emotional impact of like injuries and physical setbacks compared to when you were playing?
I think that yeah. Look, I noticed it. First of all, back in my day and before that, technology wasn't what it is today. For example, an Achilles injury at one time was a career-ending injury,
Yeah.
hands down. And now, today, we got guys who coming back from Achilles injuries in a year. I don't know if you saw Jason Tatum working out and
Yeah.
shooting, you know, and that was only, I don't know how many months. That wasn't even probably 6 months, and he was doing that. Now, it doesn't mean he's ready for the NBA, because that's the best of the best, the highest of the highest as far as professionalism and athleticism in basketball. But the fact that he was moving and shooting the way he was, so there's definitely been a huge difference from my era to that. My era, it wasn't quite, it was still probably close to career ending then. And then now, of course, a year or so, we got what, 7, 8 guys who tore their Achilles last year in the NBA.
Yeah.
And those guys may be back sometime this season, because it happened in the playoffs for a lot of guys. So it may be the whole season they have to miss out and come back the year after. So I think the way that guys talk about it mentally, it's always in the back of your head a little bit, and right now the big talk is in the NBA is they're looking at researching why this has happened, whether it's the shoes, whether it's the way the guys train or not training. They're looking at what's causing this, because you're seeing more and more of it. So it's a huge talking point right now. The mentality, I think, is more positive now that you can come back from an injury like that. And so that has a lot to do, the way we think and the way we feel affects our body. And if you feel positive that you're going to come back and you're going to get out there, well, that's half the battle right there, because all the rehab work and all the stuff you have to do, the strong mind is where it at. Remember, the game, any game in all the games, professional or amateur, are more mental than they are physical. It's the space between the ears that really can separate a great player from a good player or average player. Your belief in yourself and your belief in your ability is where it is. So I think the mentality these days on those injuries are much more positive, that they're going to come back from it and they can continue their career.
Like now, how do you support athletes during their recovery and rebuilding their confidence and identity?
Well, if I see a player, know a player's injured, I'll have a little chat with them, because a lot of times you can see that they may be down a little bit. You can notice their body language. I try to get them talking about what has taken place and kind of taking a little bit of control over the situation instead of the situation controlling them. So I kind of want them to talk about, hey, what happened to you, man? Or, how'd you do that? You say, well, you don't want them to relive it, but at the same time, you do want them to kind of overcome it. You want them to have power over that injury instead of the injury having the power over them. So I get them talking about it, and I try to be very positive and upbeat with my tone and the way that I'm speaking to them about it. And I kind of, just try to reaffirm that, hey, you can get through this.
Yeah.
I've had my injuries. Other people have the injuries. If I know someone who had a similar injury to them, I may bring that name up. They may or may not know that name. I'll be able to put a face to it, but I may bring it up and say, oh, yeah, I had a buddy who had that injury, ACL, man. He was out about 6 to 8 months, but he done everything the doctors told him to do, done all his rehab work, all his conditioning. And, man, that dude was back playing real high quality basketball, within a year. So it's about passing on my experience, my knowledge, and some of my experiences to help them feel positive about their ability to overcome it. That is, once the diagnosis is made and it's a torn Achilles or ACL or whatever it is, then right away you have to believe that you can overcome it.
Yeah.
And then also knowing that that technology is so far advanced these days, then obviously that's another positive for you as well.
Yeah. I think the main thing is like not feeling alone, because
Yeah.
I was lucky, not lucky in a sense. My one of my best friends, he tore his ACL as well, at the
Okay.
a month before me.
Oh,
So
gee whiz.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I tore mine on the day he had his surgery, actually. So
Yeah.
having, I guess it's more of like a blessing in disguise, because having that person with you, having people to support you and being able to talk to someone, knowing other people, experiencing the same thing, it really, makes you feel a lot better.
Yeah,
Um,
you're not alone. So it makes
yeah,
a huge
yeah,
difference. You can play off each other. You can throw things at each other, and
yeah,
and you really can use each other to overcome it together.
mm,
So it's disappointing that it happened to both of you at such a young age, but the good thing is that you're young enough to overcome it.
yeah,
Something like that happening now to your parents or happening to me or my wife, then that recovery process is going to get stretched out a lot longer
mm,
because we don't kind of have those Wolverine genes anymore where
yeah,
we can
yeah.
heal
Well,
ourselves as quickly.
my 83-year-old grandpa, he said, "Oh, never play basketball again. You can't. You're not going to be able to return." It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But he's probably thinking about back in his day when an
yeah,
injury like that
yeah,
happened. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. I guess that also shows how it's changed with technology.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, more of a general question. How do you deal as an athlete with setbacks or just slow progress?
Well, I mean, it depends on what type of setbacks. Like we're initially talking about
Yeah,
injuries.
yeah, yeah.
Injuries are a huge setback. Um, Injuries suck.
Mm,
They really just suck, man. Especially when you're playing and you're enjoying your sport. Being sick, like today, Bubba and Kobe couldn't go to training today because they felt a little bit ill.
yeah,
And Bubba was really disappointed. I think Kobe was probably thinking about all the YouTube he could watch, so he probably was partly disappointed. Um, but anytime things can take you away from what you really enjoy doing,
yeah,
it's tough for me. It's fishing or it's me playing golf because mentally those things are releases for me, and I need those. I do a lot of coaching and whatnot, and I need those mental releases. Me getting on a golf course with my buddies or going fishing with my buddies, that's something that I need. It brings balance to me, and to not have that, or to have it where you're injured or you're ill or you're incapacitated in some way where, even just walking, man,
yeah,
just walking with the AC with the meniscus, I'm still walking with a little bit of a limp. Even though I think the knee is strong enough, I've rebuilt the muscles around the knee because it takes no time for those muscles to deteriorate. As I'm sure you've seen,
yeah,
your knee is probably smaller than the
yeah,
other one.
yeah. And
And
it's
so then you have to rebuild those muscles around it to
yeah,
support that knee. And then that takes time and effort. And then I'm still not, when I forget about it, I'm walking normal for a while. And then also I remember, oh, my knee. Then I start hobbling a little bit again.
yeah,
So it's tough to overcome it, man. It really is a challenge, but it can be done because it's happening around us every day.
yeah. It's very mentally straining, but also confusing. Like you feel as if, I say, oh, I don't feel any pain anymore. I should be able to run. You try to run. It
Yeah,
feels a
yeah,
bit weird when
yeah,
you run. You don't
yeah,
you don't know whether you can or you can't, and it plays tricks on your mind, and
yeah.
it's a very interesting experience.
Look, it is,
Yeah.
it is, and because you're so young, it's a big bonus
Mm,
that you can overcome it, and then you can get back to running and jumping the way that you used to,
yeah.
but you're gonna have to build back that trust
Mm,
in that knee. And after all the rehabbing and stuff, You have to build back the trust, and that takes some time. And sometimes we can be quite impatient when it comes to that. But we need to be cautious and not try to rush the process
Yeah.
and let it take our time to just get it right. And then we just take those baby steps, and rebuild it where we can all of a sudden have the confidence to do the things we should do. And it is mentally draining and challenging. It's depressing at times. You're like, why does this happen to me? Woe is me. And, I think, like you said with your buddy, it's disappointing that he tore his ACL before you, but, you had somebody right away that you can call over, and he's a little bit ahead of you, and you could speak to him. So you wasn't alone. You wasn't by yourself.
Yeah.
And that would have helped your spirits a lot, that somebody can relate to you. They know exactly what you're going through
Yeah.
because they're going through it themselves.
Yeah. It meant a lot. So I was laying in bed for 6 weeks about 4 weeks post surgery, and being able to call, text, talk to someone who's been through that. What do you think sports organizations could do better to support mental health during recovery? Like how could clubs improve like awareness and
Well, I think they can have programs that directly addresses injuries in players,
yeah
illnesses in players, these things that can take players away from the game for a period of time, if not indefinitely. And they can have programs in place, or at least connections to certain sports psychologists who they can probably just bring them in, or have a player in their family go into that person or that office and sit down and talk about what's taking place, the diagnosis, what it means, how long the rehab, and how long did it take you to recover? Can you fully recover? So clubs, and a lot of them probably have it indirectly. For example, some of these clubs are run by a lot of, just professionals and working people. Some of these people are in those sports rehab industries or sports medicine industries already. So they can always recommend someone. And also, of course, you have family and friends. But as a club, and that gives us something to think about. I mean, that's something that we can think
yeah
about for our club, is that, okay, if a kid gets injured in our game, then we can go to that kid and their parents, their family, and recommend someone. It's like I've done it before for certain athletes who I've trained and been aware of, that even one is my cousin, who's a really, really good soccer player. She just competed with the Junior Matildas in Singapore, under 17s. And I remember recommending her for this podiatrist that I heard about. And I had just recently went to that person myself. So the clubs indirectly probably have someone, but it would be better if they just set up a program, and then they can filter those kids right there to that therapist, or to that podiatrist or psychologist, to help with both the mental and physical side of their injury or illness.
yeah
That would be a great program. And I mean, you don't want it to be used too much, but you rather have it there in case it's needed, and we can help those athletes address it right away. The last thing you want is an athlete to go back and have no one to talk to for the next 2, 3, 4, 6 months, and then depression sets in, and then now they got to overcome that. That's a very dangerous time for
yeah
them. It's directly after that injury. It sounds like you know a little bit about that.
What advice would you give to younger athletes facing long-term injuries, or just any injuries at all?
Well, I would advise them to obviously try to understand the injury, right? And whether that's you're going to a doctor or a specialist, or the physio, or what have you, try to understand the injury and understand the anatomy of your body and what has taken place. And then I would start right away looking for people, whether it's family, friends, or just other professional athletes who may have sustained that injury and how they overcame it. Because knowing that you can get through it, knowing that someone has been through what you're going through and they got to the other side of it is another very positive thing. It uplifts your spirits, and that's important because your spirits are a bit down at that time. So I would try to understand the injury. Then I would try to look at the process of recovery, rehabbing, how long that takes. And then I'd be trying to look for those people who, through YouTube or, this, that, who's sustained the same injury and overcame it. If I know someone, I might even want to have a chat with somebody. And sometimes people might be willing to talk about what they went through and be really feed off that positive energy, especially if they're a positive person. If they're not a positive person, if they're a little bit on the negative side, then you don't want to spend much time with them. You close that door and go to the next one. All right, because you don't need that. You got enough of that. You dealing with on your own, trying to overcome. You don't need someone dumping theirs on you. You're looking for positive people, enthusiastic and spirited, who overcame it. I mean, you got people out there, and I know some basketballers who had 2 and 3 ACL injuries and still came back from it and played. Now, when I dealt with my meniscus tear, and I'm all down in the dumps and everything, and then all of a sudden I thought about, hold on, I remember this guy was talking about that. This guy had no cartilage in his knee. He was always talking about how it was bone on bone hurting. And all of a sudden I had a couple moments when I felt that, and that shock, that pain came through. I was like, how in the world did he play like this? Like, I can barely walk. So I was blessed with very good knees and ankles and what my whole career. And I have to remind myself that, okay, I can't complain now because I had it good. And there's guys who didn't. Penny Hardaway is a Hall of Famer. And if he's not, he will be. And his career was cut short. Unbelievable player. And I think it was a knee injury. Grant Hill, who, if he isn't, he will be a Hall of Famer. I think it was an ankle injury. Tracy McGrady, back injury. You know what I'm saying? So you got some tremendous talent, some generational talents where injuries have shortened their careers. And some of them have still done quite well for themselves. But without any injury, they would have been twice as good. So I need to know. So I went to a specialist. I talked to my physio. I started looking on YouTube at meniscus tears. I started looking at the surgery, the keyhole surgery. What exactly are they doing? What is a meniscus? What does it do?
Yeah.
How does it work? And then I started looking at all the different exercises that you can do to rebuild it. Not necessarily rebuild the meniscus. There are some stem cell surgeries and things that you can do, but that's way out there. Like regrowing the meniscus and all of that. I had a buddy of mine who actually done that. Went all the way to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Spent about 2-3 weeks in San Francisco, laid up in the bed after he had this and came back. He was past his prime. He was in his late 30s, early 40s, and he wanted to be able to play social soccer with his family and his friends. And so he had this surgery, and the surgery was a success. He came back and he's still playing soccer. You don't have to pain and whatnot. So I didn't go that far. Sometimes they recommend it for players like yourself, younger, because you have more time to recover. They don't necessarily recommend it for older players, but if you have the money to pay for it, you can get it done, and that's what he done. So do the research, man. Look for the positive stories and feed off of that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.